Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Sunday Pilot, and this is another episode of Sim Sunday Extra in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, where I'm asking the question in October 2022, is Prepared 3D dead? And of course, guys, this is only my opinion, and I have no doubt that there are thousands of virtual pilots out there in the world who will completely disagree with me. And I'm going to try and answer this opinion piece by recreating an EasyJet flight from Palma De Mallorca up to London Gatwick. And I'm going to take this virtual flight on board the awesome, the incredible Fenix, or is it Fenix Airbus A320. And for me, converting from the Aerosoft Airbus A320 in Prepared 3D version 4.5 across to this awesome Fenix A320 CO in Microsoft Flight Simulator wasn't too hard, but was a little bit more complex than transferring from PMDG 737 in Prepared to the same in Microsoft Flight Sim. One massive noticeable difference from moving from Aerosoft across to this Fenix was calculating takeoff performance, which I'm doing right now. Because of course, in the Aerosoft and Prepared, this was all done for you, but here in the Fenix, it takes realism to a whole new level, where you have to input all of the performance data yourself, calculated from the provided EFB. It's really incredible, and once you get used to it, guys, is a game changer. The other big thing I had to get used to converting from the Aerosoft in Prepared across to this Fenix in MSFS was also completing the init B stage. Again, this was all automatically calculated for you in the Aerosoft, but not here in the Fenix. And just like I'm doing now, inserting the takeoff performance data provided from the EFB. Once the passengers have all boarded and the cargo and fuel have been loaded, I will then use the weight and balance information from the AFB and of course the load sheet data to input the init B data ahead of departure. And if all of this realism scares you guys, don't be. There are awesome, excellent, fantastic tutorial videos all over YouTube that will help you. They certainly helped me convert from Aerosoft Airbus A320 and Prepared across to this Fenix in MSFS. And as you can see, I'm using GSX Pro, so that's Ground Services Professional from FS Dream Team, which I was also using in Prepared 3D for all of those years that I flew in that sim. And for traffic, guys, I'm using FSLTL in the sim. And as I said in the last episode of Sim Sunday Extra, where I flew the PMDG 737-800 in the livery of Ryanair from Fez in Morocco up to Malaga in Andalusia, I uninstalled Simple Traffic from Aerosoft and replaced it by FSLTL, which is a free traffic engine supplied via the fly-by-wire installer.
Easy 6 cleared to Gatwick Airport is filed. Take off runway 6 left climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Departure on 119.45 squawk 717 tree.
Short checks complete. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes, please. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at wheel. Palma ground, GenX 46 requesting pushback. Hold position, Tomjet 7. Please set parking brakes.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Unlocking gear. Palma, GenX 46 taxi, 2 and hold short of runway 6 left.
Taxi to and hold short runway 6 left using taxiway Victor 2 Lima Golf Lima Foxtrot Lima Echo Lima Delta Lima Charlie Bravo November Oscar Romeo Tango Hotel Hotel 4 Hotel 5 Easy 8626.
Palma ground, Fenix A320 Heavy with India ready to taxi IFR.
Those of you who followed the channel for some time now will know that I'm not by the checklist sort of pilot. After all, I am just a Sunday pilot and I do this for fun, nothing else. And I'm sure those serious virtual pilots would lambast me for using the in-sim direction bar, taxiing me out to the runway. I also have Navigraph maps on a second monitor and an iPad next to me every time I fly virtually. And as I've said often throughout the many videos here on the channel, flying in a PC simulator is just a game to me. However, moving back to this virtual flight on board EasyJet between Palma De Mallorca and of course London Gatwick, it's time to tell you a little bit more about the scenery that I've got installed here in Microsoft Flight Sim. What you're seeing here in the episode today is Palma De Mallorca from Just Sim. I purchased this from the InSim marketplace during one of their many sales, but I have also upgraded many of my Just Sim products that I had in Prepared 3D using Sim Market, who offer discounts to those upgrading from Prepared to Microsoft Flight Simulator. However, back in Prepared 3D version 4.5, the Palma de Mallorca scenery that I had installed was part of Aerosoft's Balearic Island scenery series, which included Menorca, Ibiza, and of course Mallorca. And while it was really good airport scenery provided by Aerosoft, it was also provided with photorealistic mesh scenery for the islands themselves. And in my opinion, here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, that is simply not required. The in-sim scenery provided by Microsoft and Asobo out of the box using Bing Maps is just excellent. So I doubt that I'll be replacing any of my land class or mesh scenery here in MSFS. But I have been replacing a number of stock airports with handcrafted third-party products from the myriad of vendors available in the InSim marketplace, Contrail, Sim Market, and of course Orbix. And when we finally get up to London Gatwick in this episode, you are going to be seeing the third-party add-on from AnySim and Origami Studios. Their version of London Gatwick for MSFS is just absolutely gorgeous. And again, I purchased this from the InSim marketplace, and that's a point that I did make in the last episode of Sim Sunday Extra. One of the massive benefits we're getting with the advent of Microsoft Flight Simulator is of course competition. No longer are we held to ransom by Sim Market and their incredibly steep prices. As a result, when I'm buying a third-party add-ons for Microsoft Flight Simulator, I'm shopping around. The same airport available on Orbix can sometimes be a lot cheaper in the InSim marketplace. One example is the excellent scenery from Fly Tampa. I recently purchased Fly Tampa's Las Vegas, and that is an excellent piece of scenery. There were no upgrades available on Sim Market, and the cost between Sim Market and the InSim marketplace was humongous. It was much cheaper in the InSim marketplace, so I bought it there.
Traffic is Boeing 737 on final. Cleared for takeoff runway 6 left.
Cleared for takeoff runway 6 left easy 8626. 119er decimal for 5 easy 8626.
26, Barcelona Center QNH tree 0.06. Continue to Lapid as planned.
So as we continue climbing, I get back to trying to answer the question that I posed at the beginning of this video: is Prepared 3D version 4 and above dead? The InSim ATC is just another area that MSFS excels over Prepared 3D. However, I have read a number of comments from virtual pilots complaining that the InSim ATC in Microsoft Flight Simulator is really poor. I therefore want to be absolutely clear that between Prepared and Microsoft Flight Simulator, the ATC in Microsoft and Asobo's version is night and day beyond what you get in Prepared. And in recent months there have been third-party add-ons to provide a better ATC, but I haven't bothered with them. At the end of the day, guys, if you want real ATC, go and fly on VATSIM. And talking about VATSIM, only 3 days after recording this episode, I have joined the VATSIM community, but I'm still reading the community folders and I've not taken the exams yet. And because I'm due to fly to New York at the end of the week, I think it is fair to say that VATSIM is going to be my winter project.
Eurowings 4206, contact Palma, approach on 118.005.
With the Spanish Balearic island of Menorca passing beneath us off our right wing, we will continue our climb over the beautiful Mediterranean towards the south coast of France. And as we make this climb, it is time to talk a little bit more about the Fenix A320 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Guys, it is an absolutely superb virtual aircraft. And for me, it has been an absolute game changer in my conversion from Prepared 3D version 4.5 to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. This is a study level aircraft and you're not going to just jump into it and go flying. It does require a lot of configuration and preparation before you take to the skies. And of course, guys, if you're looking to just jump into an Airbus A319, the 320 or even the 321, there are plenty of basic models available from the InSim marketplace from people like Latin VFR, and of course Asobo's very own A320 Neo. And in fact, in the next episode of SimSunday Extra, I'm going to be flying the fly-by-wire A320 Neo and talking a little bit more about free add-ons to this excellent sim. So back to my original question: is Prepared 3D dead? In recent weeks, it has been reported that those flying virtually in Prepared has really dropped compared to the increase of virtual pilots, of course, in Microsoft Flight Sim. A number of third-party add-on vendors have also taken the decision not to continue developing aircraft for FSX or Prepared, and in fact they're putting all of their efforts into MSFS. At the time of recording this episode, in the last few days, PMDG also announced that the development of their 777 and Boeing 747 for Microsoft Flight Simulator was going very well. Aerosoft have also announced that their Airbus A330-300 for Microsoft Flight Simulator is nearly ready. So with the addition of wide-bodied long-haul study-level aircraft for MSFS soon to be available, I'm fairly confident when I say that in 2023, Prepared is probably dead and gone. And I realise that many of you watching this episode are going to hate me for saying it. Let's face it, guys, that the commercial success of the Microsoft Asobo franchise will force all future third-party developers to move across to this platform and away from the legacy platforms like Prepared. Obviously, in this episode, I'm only asking the question in relation to Prepared. I'm not talking about X-Plane. Of course, there is the brand new version of X-Plane 12 slowly being released to the market as I speak, and I'm therefore going to leave the views and opinions of X-Plane 11 to X-Plane 12 to the real Airbus pilot. Right, as I make my way northbound across France in the direction of the English Channel, it's time to talk about traffic in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I made this particular flight on a Saturday morning, so there were plenty of virtual pilots flying online across European airspace. And later on in this episode, as we're descending towards Gatwick, you will see a lot more virtual pilots flying online in the sim. And for me, this immersion in multiplayer experience in Microsoft Flight Simulator is another nail in the coffin for Prepared 3D. And then when you add FSLTL, live traffic is taken to the next level. The contrails that you're seeing are from aircraft being injected into the sim by FSLTL, and the data injecting FSLTL aircraft into the sim is coming from Flight Radar 24. At the time of recording this episode, I'd been using FSLTL for only 2 weeks, and I'm absolutely blown away by the quality of this free add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Anyway, back to today's flight. As you can see, we're passing over the north coast of France, so the only thing standing between us and the United Kingdom is, of course, the English Channel.
Descend and maintain 16,000 feet, Easy 8626.
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Keep speed, not... Easy 2825.
One of the things that I found myself doing when I transitioned from Prepared 3D to Microsoft Flight Simulator is placing the aircraft into a hold when descending towards its final destination. Yes, of course, I was able to do this in Prepared. However, the in-sim ATC, which had come across from FSX many decades earlier, went absolutely crazy when you weren't flying exactly the flight path delivered by the sim. So without a doubt, another massive improvement with the advent of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Okay, leaving the hold after one circuit, it is time for me to make my approach to London Gatwick's runway 26 left.
Gatwick Tower, Easy 862610 miles east inbound, ILS runway 26 left approach.
Easy 8626 Gatwick Tower. QNH tree 0.24, wind tree 10 and 7. Cleared ILS runway 26 left approach. Sleeper 262 tree exit runway when able. QNH tree 0.24, wind tree 10 and 7. Cleared ILS runway 26 left approach. ILS runway 26 left approach, Easy 2615. Caution, the Airbus landing runway 26 right. Clear to land runway.
Clear to land runway 26 left, Easy 8626.
$500. $400. $100 above. $300. Minimum.
Light slope. Light slope. Light slope.
40.
Too low. Terrain.
30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
Easy 8626 exit runway when able.
Taxiing to gate 21 using taxiway Echo Cross runway 8 left Tango, Juliet Romeo Quebec Lima Kilo Alpha Kilo Easy 8626.
Welcome to London Gatwick, guys, but more importantly, welcome to London Gatwick as portrayed in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 by Any Scene and Origami Studios. And as we taxi towards the terminal, I hope that you will agree with me that these guys have made an absolutely awesome scenery set for London Gatwick. And of course, in Prepared, I'd been using the equally excellent scenery from Gary and UK 2000. And Gary has continued his heritage of producing excellent airport scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I currently own Belfast City, Inverness, Glasgow and London Luton, and I will probably acquire Jersey and the Isle of Man at some time in the near future. I've also noticed that UK 2000 scenery has ventured across the Atlantic, and as a result Gary has been producing some excellent airport scenery in the United States. Anyway, back to Origami Studios and Any Scene's version of London Gatwick. It is clear that the InSim ATC ground controller is asking me to taxi to the South Terminal and not the North Terminal where EasyJet are based. So in a few minutes after we taxi under the bridge here at Gatwick's North Terminal, I'm going to ignore the ground taxi directions and turn onto a gate here at Gatwick's North Terminal, and this is where I'm going to bring this episode of Sim Sunday to an end. I'm also not going to bother with GSX because at the end of the day, guys, you've seen it all before. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sim Sunday Extra and our EasyJet flight from Palma de Mallorca up to London Gatwick on board the incredible Fenix Airbus A320 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And as we turn on to stand, all that remains for me to say is wherever you're flying in your virtual world, don't forget to fly safe. Thank you so much for watching.